All right, so here we're picking up on the Future of Humanity series. We'll be going over economy, resources, and automation. This is actually going to be an education stream. We have Animancer from Underhaven. We're going to be teaching him about the economy. We're going to be teaching him about gas giants, rocks, and robots. So,
yeah. What a thrilling fucking stream. We're gonna be teaching someone about rock. I feel like people will take that seriously. I mean, it's kind of true, but I mean, don't worry. We're not talking about literal rocks. Tiny rocks are boring. We're talking about
celebrate this
very
stream
big
and
rocks. Huh?
to celebrate this stream. I'm actually gonna be eating a few rocks while we're doing it. So I'll let you know how they taste, like their texture and everything. So stay.
All right. Wow. And yet you didn't want to play a Goron.
we're not very hopeful for the outcome. We're just hoping it's entertaining.
Yeah, I'm uneducated, so I'm like.
It's a shame you're not the one on camera. I'd like to watch that attempt.
Eating rocks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
All right. So apparently we are already starting to make history, I guess. So SpaceX just put another rocket up into space.
Wow. It actually didn't take some, Hollywood funding to get some, shit done with space for once. That's the last thing I can recall is hearing that apparently we only got that black hole imagery because a movie wanted it.
Yeah. Also,
is that true?
Yeah. Interstellar, the black hole in Interstellar. Yeah, that like the rendering for that black hole in Interstellar was actually based on like real NASA equations and shit. It's just that they lacked the actual software to produce a 3D image of it, but that movie funded that so that they could use what a black hole would actually look like. So we only have that actual 3D rendering of an accurate depiction of a black hole because of a fucking movie. Not government funding, a fucking movie.
That is absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Don't get me wrong, I'm glad it happened, and I enjoyed that movie all the way up until the stupid ending. But yeah, you're right. That is shameful. It's fucking pathetic that we need to rely on the entertainment industry to make a scientific leap for us.
Yeah, that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Not even really I guess. I mean, it just helped us visualize a thing that's not really going to impact us in any way. I mean, we already had the data.
Only with the incentive of like directly being able to capitalize on like an entertainment medium are we able to get anything like that fucking
the
done.
Only reason that got made is because someone at Hollywood thought it would be really cool to do that. And thought that the audience would enjoy looking at it. Also, I feel like one thing that kind of gets overshadowed by the black hole is the probably accurate representation of a wormhole in that movie too. That is really the first time I can think of a wormhole being depicted in 3D. Doesn't Interstellar have the surprise Matt Damon in the chamber? I mean,
all right, who cares about Interstellar?
Sure, I mean,
what were you guys going to tell me about?
Maybe surprise Matt Damon can reel in most people, but I mean, I'll be honest in saying that NASA's representation, like an actual representation of accurate data collected by NASA for like visualized for a black hole, that is what reeled me in. That's what made me want to watch it. Not surprise Matt Damon.
Matt Damon sucks.
I remember I was really into the Bourne series when I was younger. I don't even know why now.
So, yeah.
I mean, the interstellar black hole, though, is pretty damn cool.
Okay, so for people that may not know, just because I love talking about physics and shit, I want to explain this. Vincent, can you move the cursor around?
Yeah. Let me.
All right.
The thing
like
over.
point it. You know what I'm about to reference, like the Halo shit on the top and bottom.
Yeah. So like all this around here.
Yeah, okay, so you can see the accretion disk orbiting around it, that you can see in front. That's like rings that you would see around Saturn, right?
Yeah.
But this halo shit on the top
Yeah.
and bottom that you see, that is actually the accretion disk on the back side. The black
Right.
hole is actually warping light so that you see what's behind it wrapped above and below it.
It's kind of like a
that's
round mirror.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a round mirror that you can see all sides of at all times. It's really
amazing.
trippy. It's really trippy. It's really fucking cool, though.
That I don't know. There's a lot of things I love about physics, but gravitational lensing is one of my fucking favorites.
Yeah, and gravitational lensing is actually why we know so much about space at all.
Yeah.
Without making that discovery, we wouldn't know even close to half of the shit we know now.
That's really
So-
sad.
Have you already learned something, Damon?
Yeah. Hey, I've learned something. You guys have already done your job.
Awesome.
So we are going to break theme for just a few moments because we do actually have to come back over here.
Oh yeah, this isn't breaking
And-
theme. It's perfectly on theme for us.
Yeah, so we're gonna make it a tradition. We have to shit on PragerU once per stream. That this is gonna be a thing. So we came over here with the intention of shitting on PragerU, but we may actually agree with them today. Did
You know,
Obama unite America? Now, these guys are
hold on.
hardcore conservatives. They hate Obama. So their answer is more than likely going to be no.
Before you hit play, I have to agree with what Damon was saying before the stream. While we might agree with the conclusion, we're probably going to disagree every step along the way.
That was a much
Oh,
more
of
eloquent
course.
way of putting it than I did, but okay.
That's not breaking theme at all.
I mean, generally we disagree just wholeheartedly. Or
Right.
God, that second time, just I didn't even know what to say. It was.
Yeah,
it was too
that last
stupid
one
to
was just
properly respond.
that last one was just bad.
But yeah, okay. Let's try not to spend an hour on PragerU like we normally do. Let's get through this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Charles, will Obama go down as the worst president in history?
hear anything.
Worse than Carter? I don't know how they'll go down. I'm not a prophet.
See his
I
lips
think he was
moving,
the worst
but there's no
president since
sound, but I
Andrew
think that's
Johnson.
probably better.
In the
Yeah,
in
let's
the
leave
19th
it that
century.
way.
What was that?
I said I see his lips moving, but I hear no sound. But that's probably better.
Yeah, can we leave it like that?
Here, let me turn it up for you.
No, like literally zero sound.
Oh,
Like-
no
Yeah.
sound. No what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, 0 times 1.5 is still 0.
Okay. Sorry about that. We're gonna have to start over from the beginning. Okay. It's a little quiet for me too. Not all the way quiet though. All right, let's go.
Charles, will Obama go down as the worst president in
Same thing.
history? Worse than Carter?
No sound.
I don't know how they'll go down. I'm not a prophet.
There's no sound.
I think he was the worst.
Still no sound?
Still no sound.
What the hell is going on here?
Can people on the stream hear it?
They can hear it because I saw it bouncing in OBS. Supposed to be going. Oh,
President since Andrew Johnson.
there we go.
In the
Whoa, what is
Charles,
with
will
his
Obama-
voice?
Huh?
This is the same guy that's normally in the videos, right?
Yeah, this is Dennis Prager.
Okay, what's that gas that's like the opposite of helium? When you inhale it, it makes your voice all deep. Why does he sound like he's been huffing that?
Looks like he's doing this live in his own office, and he probably had to set up his own shit. So
Okay.
he just probably has nicer gear than I do. But
I want to say sulfur.
guarantee you, any other YouTuber could probably set up their own audio equipment better than this guy.
Yeah, sulfur hexafluoride.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
We need to make this a quick little shit.
Yeah.
Go down as the worst president in history. Worse than Carter. I don't know how they'll go down. I'm not a prophet. I think he was the worst president since Andrew Johnson in the 19th century.
Debatable, but all right. Hyperbole aside, let's go.
And his speech that he just gave this week to college graduates reinforced my belief that he's sort of a troublemaker.
A
Huh?
troublemaker?
A troublemaker for giving a speech. College kids?
This guy's such a fucking wet noodle.
I mean,
Wet noodle?
Yeah.
Echo. Jan
That
says
was a while
echo.
ago. You said
What
that
do
a while
we?
ago. I don't hear echo.
I don't hear it. Maybe it's us that's echoing. Maybe you guys can specify who the issues are coming.
Trying to figure out where I have duplicated audio. That might be the problem.
We're living in an echo chamber, unlike PragerU.
You know what?
Right where it belongs.
I
He says no,
apologize
echo.
for.
He says no, echo is over. All right.
Sure.
There is considerable delay between us, he says.
Yeah. That's usually how it goes with YouTube chat.
He spoke to 14 black colleges, I think it was, graduates of 14 black colleges.
What's a
And
black college?
told
This is probably where he's going to say that he's a bad person, because deep down, this guy's a racist.
What the fuck's a black college? I'm pretty sure
Well-
nowhere in America is there any college that only accepts people of one race.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but let's assume that there is. And let's assume that Obama gave speeches to 10 of them. That's what he said, right? 10 black colleges or something like that?
I thought he said like 4 or 5. Doesn't
Okay,
matter.
whatever.
Pick
Look,
one.
all
I'd
of
have
them.
the-
Obama
I'd
gave
have the
speeches
most
at all of
problem
them.
with a black- I'd have the most problem with a black college existing than whatever the fuck Obama was doing about it.
Yeah, probably. But let's see if this is going to be the bulk of his argument, because this isn't a very long video. He's just going to complain, like, he said some things that I disagree with at
Only get to the
some
space.
college kids.
them how mentioned the jogger in Georgia who was shot. I have not talked about this on the air because I don't know the facts yet.
There was video of that jogger.
Yeah.
The jogger
fuck?
was jogging. Two dudes got out, one of them with a shotgun, and in the middle of the fight, as they were chasing this guy, the black guy got shot. Now, because they have some BS laws in that state,
Hold on.
even though those guys like instigated the whole thing, apparently the black guy instigated the actual fight.
Hold on.
So he's the one that caused the gun to go off.
Hold on. With how this started, he was saying that Obama was the worst president in history, and he made it seem like he was going to be providing evidence as to how that was the case. And now he's talking about something that Obama has done recently.
When not president. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I don't care if he since raped and murdered someone. That's not something he did in office. That has nothing to do with
Yeah.
his presidency.
Yeah, but here's the thing: Republicans hate on Obama almost as much as they ever fucking did. Like, he still gets a fucking ton of shit from people. I suppose, you know, he is still somewhat politically active in the conversation, but not really that much. Not to the extent they have a hate boner for him. It really doesn't line up to me. They're still talking about Obama. Like, they're still talking about him.
They can shit on him and they can call him a bad person. I'm just saying, like, this isn't a point that he was a bad president, because this isn't something he's done during his presidency. if you want to make that point, bring up some things you think he did during his presidency. And I'll admit, Obama was as shitty of a president as the ones that came before and will precede him. But I wouldn't say the worst. He was just, milquetoast shitty.
Well, I have severe disagreements with how Obama did as president, but yeah, like we all agreed before we even played this, we probably weren't gonna agree on the substance, just the generalized
Fair enough.
generalized sentiment. So he's only halfway through. He hasn't really made a decent point yet. So do we even bother with the rest? Do we give him a chance? He has a minute left. Not even.
Why not?
All right, let's go.
Until I know the facts, I'm not going to comment. It may have been wanton murder. It may have been a terrible tragedy. It may have been a justified killing. I don't know.
A justified killing. So, whoa. A justified killing. It may have been a justified killing? How?
That aside, we might disagree. We might disagree, but I would say there are plenty of times where it's completely justifiable to kill someone. But that aside, so his argument is because he doesn't have all the facts, no one else can talk about it? Because he hasn't done his research, other people aren't allowed to have opinions?
Yeah, that's fucking dumb.
I mean, that's
this take so far. This take so far is really fucking dumb.
That is pretty much the religious viewpoint on science, right? I mean, they don't understand it, so it must be wrong.
Right. Come on, Dennis. 40 seconds. Go. Change my mind.
I know that President Obama spoke about Ferguson, where police shot and killed a black youth. And he mentioned it as if it was an example of the police being racist. But it turned...
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to have to side with Obama on this one. I don't like him for a lot of shit, but I'm going to have to side with Obama on this one.
Man, they could have had it so easy. Like, yeah, I was ready to hate on Obama too, but they had to find some type of a way to fuck it up.
Yep. Leave it to these guys. These guys can't even take down Obama.
That's sad because he took down himself.
How sad is that?
Hold on. That's because all of the stuff they could, all the stuff we would criticize him on is probably the
they
kind
like,
of stuff
yeah.
that gets them hard. Yeah.
Yeah, they like that shit.
Wow, that's sad, but true.
Yeah, I mean, Bush got us into wars that we shouldn't have been in. Obama said, "Hold my beer. Watch this shit. I'm gonna set the whole fucking world on fire." And he did.
He wanted to prove that a black man could be as much of a warmonger as any white man, and he did. So, there you go.
Nobody needed to prove that. We already have years of history in all of Africa to prove that. Nobody needed to prove that.
We can't talk. Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that.
We're supposed to be talking about other planets, not this one.
Hot take. Africa has been at war with virtually everybody that has ever stepped foot in Africa, including Africans, for the better part of the last 6 centuries or more? Yeah, longer than that, actually.
Sure, sounds about right.
They're one continent. You can't clump them all together. I mean, countries in Asia don't really tend to like each other either.
True. I mean, there hasn't been relative peace in China since the Communist Party, actually.
Since ever, probably.
Like perpetual war until the Communist Party.
Eskimos, man. You never hear about war in Antarctica.
War in Antarctica?
You never hear about Antarctica.
Well, that's because it's actually a wall at the edge of the...
Oh, yeah, right. I forgot.
Oh, shit, dude. You're right.
There's no such thing as Eskimos. There's government military all around Antarctica to snipe you down.
Right, right, right. Okay, so what we're supposed to be doing here is educating Damon. 'Cause I'm done with
Yeah. Fuck
You-
Prager. All right, we're done.
Prager. Fucking go away.
We're flushing. Time to
Let's
move on.
teach Damon about gas giants and rocks
and robots.
and
Gas
robots.
giants and robots first. Yeah.
Let's
I'm
save the
prepared to-
robots
I'm
for. Let's save
Okay.
the robots for the later part of the conversation.
Yeah, you're right. It is at the end of that list. Automation.
Well, okay. So what I want to do with this Future of Humanity series, I talk a lot about politics, and actually, before we even get into this, Justin, I've been talking with Justin, and he's really interested in coming on and co-hosting with me. So we're actually going to change this from just my YouTube channel, and this is going to be now the Bird Brothers. So both of us are going to be doing this together. Oh, Bird Brain. I thought that's what we were going to call the Discord.
Both.
Okay, sure. Bird Brains.
Man. Sounds
So-
funnier.
So we're going to be the Bird Brains. And yeah, so that's how this show is going to be going forward. It's going to be the both of us instead of just me, and very, very frequently bringing on Justin and Damon. So the Future of Humanity series is supposed to be, at least when I first envisioned it, because I talk a lot about politics, this is the society that I hope to see from all of the political policies that I would like to see implemented. If everything goes according to how I think it should go in politics, this is the future that I would like to see. With very realistic takes. This isn't science fiction. This is looking at what is theoretically possible in science. And then also looking at stuff like economic theory and just how do things scale once we start building our civilization up beyond this planet, or once we start running out of resources. That's going to be a lot of this conversation here.
I
So-
think you have a much more optimistic view of what this conversation is going to be like, but I think that's perfect that you're going to be the optimist and I'm going to be the pessimist here, and we can bounce back and forth on that.
Yeah, that's why I've always wanted to have you here for this
I'm
one.
going to take the much more realistic approach here and talk about what I think is just the most likely to happen.
Right. I'll take a lot of that too. There are different options that we can have going forward, because different economic policy will take us into the future. There are a lot of different policies that won't just outright kill everybody. It's going to come up with very different looking futures depending on what roads we take going forward. So starting off with the economy, there's quite a few different ways that we go about this, and the next several years are big toss-up to really decide which road are we going to take. And both Justin and I can probably agree that there's one road that is far more likely to happen than the other. Although, for the sake of conversation, I'm going to take the optimistic road and assume that for all of my stances when it comes to this conversation, we get massive political revolution around the world, left-wing economic policies start getting implemented everywhere.
So here's how I would actually like to have this conversation. Like, I think this will flow better. We should talk about, if things keep going down the pessimistic route, how they're going to go, what the ultimate outcome and the logical conclusion of that will be, and then wrap it back around and say what we need to do in the here and now to stop that from happening.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
So,
All right.
and I mean,
So
this
being
will
the
start-
pessimist,
Yeah?
you want to start us off with the economy?
Yeah, I guess I should lead. Okay, so I think economy as a subject is just kind of going to be the secondary thing in both of these conversations, because I don't really think we can start with one and move on to the other. I think economy is kind of the overall umbrella thing here with this conversation, and resources and later automation are just kind of the tools that people are going to be using for that. So, I mean, if this is just kind of an extension of the conversation we had the other day when you were over here, I guess I'm just putting a fast forward on this and jumping us to the point where we are finally getting off this rock and going and starting to, for instance, mine the asteroid belt. That would be the first one, just because of proximity.
Okay.
So I would actually like, yeah, you had brought up something about this where any given asteroid is said to be worth like trillions of dollars, but that would just kind of like immediately overnight inflate the economy, and they wouldn't really be able to sell the whole thing all at once.
Right.
But I don't know. That also that then kind of implies that what they're trying to do. And obviously, I mean, I think the first people will be trying to do this. You know, you go to the asteroid belt, you hitch up a fucking asteroid, you fly it back to Earth. I mean, I'm sure there's a way, but I feel like it'd be kind of difficult to safely land a fucking asteroid on Earth. Though I don't know, maybe at this point we've actually built a space elevator. Should we take pauses
Space
to
elevator?
Yeah, I suppose we should take pauses to explain some futurism ideas, yeah? Like space elevators.
Well, before we even get to the space elevator, the asteroid belt isn't the first place that we're going to get our hands on asteroids. There are a lot of near-Earth asteroids that are a lot more accessible than those floating out in the asteroid belt. Also, a lot of the ones that we would actually target in the asteroid belt would actually be too big to realistically move back over this way.
Which
A
is
lot of the
why
ones we would... Go ahead.
I was going to say, which is why I don't really think that's going to be the goal. I mean, eventually, once we reach the point where we are like relatively easily able to get out into space and we're mining entire fucking asteroids and stuff, and at this point, I mean, it's not like population growth is going to be slowing down. Eventually, we're not going to bother living on Earth anymore. People are going to be building space stations, and that's really where people are going to be living and working. You're going to be mining on an asteroid, and with the resources you get from that, you're going to be building space stations around that.
Right. The stuff that we end up getting out of the asteroid belt is going to be mainly used to build other stuff in the asteroid belt or nearby planets.
Yeah, and I mean, like, and you can get, like, with centripetal force, you can get just a rotating inner ring on a space station and achieve what is effectively Earth gravity, so people can't even really make that argument. I mean, at a certain point, Earth is probably going to be a little more than a tourist attraction. As I said before, presuming we can actually keep it clean, because if it's just kind of a
with
small
that
nightmare by then, why would anyone even want to come here?
With that, you're talking way future, which is part of this conversation.
I am. That is, like I said, I kind of want to follow this through to its logical eventual conclusion, what this means for humanity.
Right. The first thing I want to get to with economy and especially automation is where we're going to go from here and more than near future. So the near future, for the Future of Humanity series, whenever I'm talking about it here, I'm more talking before the year 2100. So everything up to that point. I feel like we're probably going to be looking at another space race coming fairly soon.
That's not
because
okay. Why do you say?
It's not a thing of optimism. It's more necessity. Because once we do start looking to space as a significant resource, energy is going to be a big concern. We're not able to keep up with the energy demands of our growing society. You know how in the middle of summer, everybody running their ACs and everything, we overload our power grids and the power goes off.
Okay.
We have more and more people every single year. This problem's only going to get worse.
I guess what I mean by optimistic.
With power companies, well, no, I'm not being optimistic at all right now. With power companies continuously not maintaining their infrastructure, the power grid isn't going to be able to handle this going forward. One of the easiest ways to get power is solar. It's everywhere. The easiest place to get it is in space. And building all of the stuff to harness that up in space, you need to get the material up there. If we're going to build the stuff down here and put it up into orbit, that's insane. We're not going to do that. That's the reason we haven't been doing stuff like that, because it's just prohibitively expensive. I think I have it in my notes here somewhere how much it actually costs to put just like a pound of something into space.
While you're looking for that, to elaborate on what I meant by I think you're being optimistic there, is it's not that I don't think it's necessary. It's that it doesn't seem like world leaders think it's necessary.
Well, that doesn't really matter. World leaders right now aren't the world leaders in the 2040s or the 2050s.
Well, you said soon. How soon do you mean?
Well, yeah, soon is like the near future, which for this conversation is sometime within this century.
Yeah, fitting under that, I mean, you're basically arguing that, the space race could happen soon in 2190.
The more pessimistic take would probably put it around there. More optimistically, it might happen in the 40s or the 50s.
I mean, though, I suppose, actually, doesn't really matter what the government wants, does it? Because, I mean, we're seeing it now with SpaceX. It's not NASA that's working on a fucking space program anymore.
Right.
It is going to end up being the private companies, which kind of just fuels the nightmare even more.
Right.
Yeah, dude.
And
the quicker that Hollywood runs out of things to remake, dude, that's when we're gonna start getting some more investment into space exploration. They're gonna need more material, man.
No, it's just because
Right.
people are getting really into practical effects nowadays. So Hollywood is going to start funding the creation of spaceships so that we can make sci-fis with practical effects.
With real real sci-fi.
that's pretty good. I like that. Hey, so Justin, I don't think you've played the Outer Worlds yet, but Damon, have you played it?
Oh no, I really want to though. I'm looking forward to trying that game.
Yeah, so to not spoil anything really, you can already see this watching trailers for it. The vibe that the Outer Worlds has is very reminiscent of Ratchet and Clank, where they took like the space-bound mega corporations to the comedic extremes.
Yeah, we were just talking about this yesterday.
And they do it in a very, very funny way with the Outer Worlds. But if you actually look at the serious undertones of the whole thing, that's what we're looking at if we continue on the road that we're on.
Socioeconomic disparity.
Yeah, exactly. There would be a lot of that. But if our economy doesn't change and we just continue on up the way that we're going, that's pretty much what we're gonna have. Justin, you've said it a million times. If things continue on the path that they're going, we're gonna end up with not governments, not corporations. I don't know if there's a word for it, but they're gonna be one and the same.
Yeah. Like literally, like if any of the other person watching has ever seen
that's an ANCAP's paradise, basically.
If
Yeah,
anyone
exactly.
else has ever played, if anyone else has ever played the Ratchet and Clank games, like especially Ratchet and Clank 2, that galaxy, Megacorp, that is literally what the company's called, Megacorp.
Right.
It owns everything. It is the government in that galaxy. There is
Yeah.
no fucking government. It's all just Megacorp.
And to Damon's point right now, it's an ANCAP's wet dream. Yeah, that's also why it only occurs in science fiction, and it's usually a comedy. Because that's how
that's true.
absolutely horrible that worldview is.
You're either satirizing it or you're making a dark dystopia setting.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's true. Yeah.
That's
Wow.
the only time we see that in media, because there is no way to paint that as a good picture. The closest you get is something like Ratchet and Clank.
Even then, that's complete satire.
It is, but I mean, when you were a kid, did you really get it at the time? It was bright and colorful and fun.
No,
but then
I
looking
didn't.
back at it,
Yeah.
looking back at it, you're like, oh, fuck.
Now that I
That
can
place
look
was
back at it-
terrible.
Now
And
that
you
I
know-
can look back at it and appreciate it, I hate that the third game, out of nowhere, actually decided to have a galactic government.
Justin, you know what that
Yeah,
you know
that's
what
kinda
that
dumb.
proves? You know what that fucking proves?
What?
It proves that anarcho-capitalists have the minds of children.
You heard it here first.
Wow. Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, when I first played the first Ratchet and Clank, I was, what, 10? I doubt I understood what the plumber was even saying when he said socioeconomic disparity. I doubt I
Right.
understood any of those words.
Right, you needed Clank's translation.
Yeah. He hasn't got enough bolts. But yeah, I mean, okay, we're already like 40 minutes into this almost. So I'm gonna because we're kind of like, dipping the tips of our dicks into this. I'm just gonna quickly summarize the point I want to make.
All
Going into the far future thing. Eventually, we're gonna hit the point where these mega corporations / governments have control of all the resources. They are mining entire fucking asteroids and gas giants. They're gobbling up all the resources, making all the stuff. They're going to have pretty damn good AI and automation taking all the menial tasks away. So there's basically no jobs for anyone else. There's just the dudes hoarding all the money and all the robots making all the shit for them to have all the money. And now, where the fuck are people getting money? And what a lot of people then want to say, because some people realize this will eventually happen, and that's where, what is a UBI thing comes in mind. Like, people have essentially want to implement some communism at this point and just give everyone like a base salary so they can go enjoy the luxuries of the society that all these robots are making for us. But
I'm in favor of that.
no, but it's still people at top. It's still people in control of everything, and it's corporate. Like, it's not even really government now. They're not beholden to anything. They do what the fuck they want to do. And what use do they have for you now? Where are you getting that money? It would have to come from them.
UBI is like a stepping stone. It's not supposed to be the entire fucking solution to automation. It's supposed to be like a band-aid to like help us out while we get into that transitionary period.
Okay, no, but my point is, once we're there, once we're to the point where all necessary jobs are taken by robots and artificial intelligence, and the only way for a person to even get money to buy goods, because they can't do a job, because the robots are much better at it, where the fuck are they getting their money?
I think that's a question for the people of the future to answer.
No, that's the question we're going to try to discuss right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why this conversation exists.
Like, if we allow it to get to that point, like, literally ego is the only thing stopping the big wigs on top from just letting everyone else starve to death. They would have to give a little bit of their money to these people so that they can afford to live, just so that people can keep stroking their egos to feel like they're in charge of everything, because, that
let's admit it, like, that is why these types of people do this. It's a power trip. They like feeling in charge. If everyone else starves to death and dies, there's no one to be in charge of. So they're probably not actually going to let it get to that point. But they're under no obligation to actually keep us, like, comfortable and shit. If they only care about just keeping us alive to essentially worship them, then they only have to give us just enough to not die.
Right. That's why I criticize Andrew Yang's UBI proposal so much, because that it actually expedites that scenario. And the way that it takes away from welfare programs and stuff like that.
I mean, some people even want to start doing it now, where just, like, permanently people will just, like, receive a base income for doing jack shit. And
I think there should be a universal basic income on some level. I don't think Andrew Yang's implementation of it is great, but I think it's a good idea.
I don't think you should be able to even survive off. Like, it should pretty much be what minimum wage is now, where you can't even really live off of it, because you should need to do something else.
It's your universal basic income. It's supposed to cover your basic necessities. So yeah, people would still need to work and do shit.
But
I don't
hold on,
think it should
hold on.
cover universal basic necessities. Otherwise, what inclination would being the lazy ass I am, why would I even bother?
But hold on. Why don't we address the automation with this too? Because we're already seeing it. It's possible for companies to actually completely automate warehouses. They can automate logistics. They can automate all sorts of stuff. AI is advancing to the point where clerical work is going to be completely automated. We won't need receptionists. We won't need people to file anything in front offices anymore.
Yeah, last time we were talking about this, I made the point that I work at a fast food place. And if
your job would be gone.
Not just my job. If the company I work for wanted to make the investment, and it would just be an investment because it would eventually get them their money back. If they wanted to do it, they could turn the entire building I work at into one giant factory, completely automated. Nobody even has to work there. Robots can cook the shit. A computer interface, like a fucking factory machine, can assemble the burgers. People can just use that touchscreen stuff to order what they want. Literally, with modern technology, if someone actually wanted to design the shit, my entire place of work, not just my job, the entire building can be automated.
Exactly.
The only reason we don't do that is so that people can still have jobs. Meaning we're hanging on by a fucking thread right now.
No, the only reason we don't do that is because those robots aren't actually advanced to the point where they can rely on them enough to make them the money that they know you can make them. That's the only reason they're still paying you. As soon as those robots are capable of doing that job, they will be.
I'm pretty sure the technology exists to already do it.
Yeah, and also, what is the investment? There's a lot of factors that go into why they will go in that direction.
You basically have to turn the place into a factory. I'm sure the building would be bigger, that's for sure.
For them, it's probably about efficiency. It's probably not at the point where those parts can be, like, it's probably not at the point where things can be automized to an efficient enough level where they're willing to make that type of investment.
Honestly,
I guarantee you,
about it.
I guarantee you, somebody has been crunching the numbers, and every single time they recalculate it, they say, yep, it still actually costs less money to pay people to do it, so let's keep doing that.
They probably check every day.
As soon as it is more financially viable for them to go with robots, they will. Because we've already seen that in other industries.
Again, then, dangling on by a thread. But I bet you the people that would be most upset about the entire thing going automated would be Karens, because now they have no one to yell at.
They'll yell at the robots anyway.
Manager.
Huh?
They'll yell at the robots anyway.
Yeah, they'll get out the robots. They'll get about as much as they'll get as much accomplished by doing that.
Somehow, and for some reason, someone will even automate the Karens and make some Karen bots.
I would like to speak to your manager.
Yeah, but okay, back to the UBI. If we do see automation take a bunch of these jobs, like a bunch, I'm talking 30 to 50% of the jobs on the global market. If we don't have a UBI that is capable of paying somebody's way to a livable state, how do those people survive? If we suddenly have more available workers than we have available jobs.
This is what I was saying.
Like there is no equality anywhere in those numbers. There are literally far fewer jobs than we actually have workers.
This is what I was saying, where I said I wanted to make the point of where I think things are going to go with, based on current trajectories, wrap it back around and talk about what we can do in the here and now. Because in the here and now, we actually have a government where we can where the individual person actually has some semblance of a vote.
Right.
Meaning now, while we still have governments, we need to try and sort this out. I genuinely don't, at least not off the top of my head, know what the answer is, though.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like I'm not trying to be a jackass or anything, but I do feel like that's something that is very difficult for someone at our information level right now, with how things are right now, to come to the conclusion about when automation actually does become a thing.
That's just we can't leave it for the people of the future to figure out, because by then it's too late.
Exactly. So
we need to
right now,
it out before it's an issue.
Right now, the biggest problem that we have is privatization, right? So you got one dude that controls the whole company. So you got this whole company and it's controlled by one dude. Take Amazon, for example. Let's go to the absolute extreme. Amazon, controlled by one dude. Now, one dude up at the top, he's able to make a decision and it just spreads out to the entire company. Now, if Jeff Bezos decided, I want to automate every single warehouse. I don't want these pickers running around anymore. They're running into each other. I don't feel like paying work comp because everybody keeps spraining their ankle and shit. So, fuck the warehouse people. Lay them all off. I want robots instead.
Wow, that sounded almost perfect.
Fuck the robots, okay.
That's gonna happen. He's gonna buy a bunch of robots. He's gonna fire all of his warehouse people, and now all of his fulfillment centers are run by robots. Now we all of a sudden have thousands upon thousands of people that are unemployed. Where do those people go? Well, first off, they go to unemployment. Because, duh, that's what you do. You get laid off, you go to unemployment. They're going to get paid for a little while, and then they're not, because unemployment doesn't last forever. So, as soon as they're not being paid anymore, maybe some of them ended up getting fast food jobs or whatever. Maybe you now work with some of them over at, damn it, why am I blanking? Where you're working at?
Don't worry about
Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
Dairy Queen.
So over there, a McDonald's or some shit like that. So now you got a few of them that are working at like McDonald's, Jack in the Box, the pizza place down the street, whatever. And then all of a sudden, some of these other companies like McDonald's, Jack in the Box, Pizza Hut start looking around at what Amazon's doing. Say, you know what? That's a pretty fucking good idea. Because my people keep burning their hands every single time that dipshit tries to take a pizza out of the oven, and I'm tired of paying for that, having to hire a new guy, and my turnover is just too high. Okay, robot cookers, robot servers, everything. They're all robots now. Now all those people lost their jobs. Even the people that used to be Amazon people, they just lost their jobs again. Luckily, they get to go get unemployment again, as long as they weren't unemployed within the year. At least that's the way it is in California.
I just randomly remembered that episode of Jimmy Neutron where Jimmy automates the entire McSpanky's restaurant.
But as soon as one of these companies starts doing it, if it's financially viable, they're all going to start doing it. They're already testing.
Yeah, it's going to cause a domino effect.
Yeah, We're already
Yeah.
looking at self-driving trucks for logistics, a bunch of truck drivers, which is actually a very, very big job in the United States. Very well-paid truck drivers, and there's a whole shitload of them. Those
The one
guys
that
get unemployed, we're going to have a whole bunch of unemployed truck drivers.
I've
The
got a
one-
question for you. Do the fast food restaurants near you, like McDonald's and Taco Bell, do they have kiosks to get in there where you don't even have to interact with anybody? You can just go up to the.
Yes,
I know Jack in the
McDonald's,
yep.
Box does. I don't know about the rest of them.
Jack in the Box doesn't.
Jack
But
in the
yeah, I
Box,
know for
know,
sure.
I don't know about the one closest to me, but I've seen it at Jack in the Box before. I know they were
Originally,
one
it
of
was
the early
only,
ones on it.
Originally, it was only McDonald's around here. Now Taco Bell has them. Like, eventually, all the fast food restaurants are gonna. It's gonna be like a mainstay to have these kiosks.
I don't like using them. I try to just order at the counter, but sometimes they just tell me to use the kiosk. I remember one time at Target, I didn't want to use self-checkout, and I told the fucking person in the checkout line, I refuse to use that thing so that you can keep your job. And she told me, I'm not going to lose my job. Just use it.
That's sad, man.
I still refuse to use them.
It's I use them. It's sad to me that you
You're a terrible
that
person.
you go out of your way. I know. It's sad to me that you go out of your way to like try and like do someone like that small convenience and be like, hey, I'm concerned about you like potentially losing your job. Would you like to ring up my order? It's like, whatever. Like, I don't know what to say to that. I really don't know what to say to that. Whatever floats your boat, I guess. You made the attempt. You made the fucking attempt.
In their mind, I'm sure it's less work for them to do if I don't go through their checkout line and I just do it my damn self.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, these companies are counting how many people go through the self-checkout. They're also counting how much product do we actually lose by people going through self-checkout, because they can't get every single shoplifter that goes to use those. It's fundamentally insecure. Very easy for people to shoplift through the self-checkout. They're tracking all of this stuff. And as soon as it becomes more financially viable for them to just, like post up a few security guards at the front of the store instead of hiring cashiers, then, yeah, there's not going to be any more cashiers. It's all going to be self-checkout. Or better yet, fucking robots. Automation is a very, very serious issue.
Robot guards, man.
Or robot guards.
Robot guards?
Yeah, imagine that. So,
dude, imagine, like, what if we got to the point, like, where we are, like, when we get to the point where it's, like, corporations, not government, and they don't have to give a shit about the law because they own the entire space station you're on buying this shit. They just have it set up so, like, they have some fucking Gatling guns pointed at the doors, and if you set the alarm off, they just open fire. But sometimes those things fuck up, and they just go off on random ass people.
Oh yeah, like back to the Ratchet and Clank thing. All of those little like stupid funny commercials that they would show all throughout the game. It's like, yeah, they're trying to sell you this product, and it's a video of the product obviously fucking up as they're trying to sell it to you. It's like you give it to little Timmy, and little Timmy like blows his fucking arm off or something.
Timmy the proto pet. They're like trying to play up like how cute the proto pet is. Now it's like the best pet. All the while it's like chasing him, trying to fucking eat him.
Yeah. Yeah, like they wouldn't even care. Like, oh, well, here's the drinks that you're gonna be buying. And we used a little bit too much acid, so yeah, in the commercial, like you see it like leaking out of the bottom of the cup because it's actually eating through the bottom of the cup. This is the only drink you can buy, by the way. Like, there's no other option, so here you go.
Honestly, the thing that scares me there is, yeah, like that's how it would be in a satirized game like Ratchet and Clank. But the thing is, if there's no government agencies,
they wouldn't even have to tell you about that.
There could be nothing in the can. There's no disclaimer. They could be sipping air and you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like your question earlier about why would they keep us alive? Well, there might be some corporations that answer that question in a different way. Yeah, why am I keeping these people alive?
Human cattle.
For what? I mean, if if the corporation ends up making the determination, you know what? There's too many people. I'm just going to sell this block of the population this poisoned product. And then we'll just wall them off and forget about them. Problem solved.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds dystopian, but yeah, that'll happen. Like, if you get to the point where there's no government overseeing these people and all they care about is profit, and they're not even profiting off you anymore, because the only money you have is the little meager pittance that they send you just to keep you alive.
Yeah, all you fucking ANCAPs out there who want to take away all of this government regulation, that's where this road leads. They think, like, oh, no, the free market and competition and all that. But as soon as corporate consolidation happens, there is no more free market.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, maybe it'll never get to the point where there's like literally one company owning everything, but it doesn't matter. There could be 1,000 giant mega corporations, all ruled by one person. That means there are 1,000 people out of the billions, if not trillions by this point, of humans that actually have money.
Okay, so I guess if people really, really want to do digging on me and figure out exactly who I'm talking about, they would probably be able to figure this out fairly easy. But a company that I used to work for controls a very, very significant chunk of a market. And it started coming up in conversation that, oh, this company might actually be in violation of monopoly laws. So what they did was they subdivided their sales force into a bunch of sub-companies owned by a parent company, but those sub-companies are actually the ones that participate in the market. So they're all treated as, oh, well, this one only controls 18%, this one controls 20-something%, this one controls another 15%, and it all adds up to the umbrella company effectively having control of something like
70
or 80-something%, which is in violation of monopoly laws. But that's not how it actually works out on paper, because that company doesn't actually control a market. This one controls a section of the market, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one.
Yeah, and that's with government regulation.
This is with government regulation. We have government regulation to stop this shit from happening, and it's still happening. So if you take all of that shit away, just blanket, let's just get rid of all regulation, this stuff's going to happen overnight. I shit you not. Overnight. You remove all regulations, and companies like that one will be like, okay, well, this whole subdivision thing is a nightmare. We're just going to consolidate it all back up to the top. And yeah, we actually own everything. And now that all of these other regulations are out of the way, we're going to start doing shit where we severely hamper all of these smaller businesses that don't control a whole lot of space. And we're just going to shove them out because we control so much of the market that we have that power.
Yeah, you can't rely on people having enough morals not to do that type of thing, because there will always be someone backhanded and shady enough to put all morals aside for any profit that they could possibly get. And there will always be someone like that. Always, without a
it doesn't even have to be the majority of people.
No, that's the fucked up thing, is it doesn't have to be the majority of people at all.
So
it could be one in a million.
Now we come to the question, what do we do about it?
Yeah, so something I wanted to say earlier. I feel like a very problematic thing that people always respond with when you bring up the idea of automation replacing menial jobs, and I'll admit that when I was a kid, I used to think the same thing, but really just thinking about it a little bit proves that it's a stupid thing. People will say, well, yeah, all the menial jobs that no one wants to do are getting removed, but now, since there's a lot more machines and stuff, that means there's a lot more engineers and coders that are going to be needed. One, maybe originally, One, maybe originally. Two, not as many.
Yeah,
can
so
eliminate
there will be an initial influx of like field engineers that these robots weren't really made right, and as they're like trying to traverse the warehouse or whatever, like their wheels fell off or their arms like gave out or certain parts seized up. You're gonna have a lot of like field technicians stuff that go and handle that.
But not as many as the menial workers you just
Oh,
replaced.
no.
And two,
Yeah, so
that's a very
the warehouse.
job.
Yeah, the warehouse that I used to work at, just on the night shift that I was on, there were over 100 employees. They could do the entire warehouse with fewer robots that just ran 24 hours a day. They wouldn't even have to do weekends. They could even run through the weekends.
Yeah.
And then an even smaller force of field technicians. Even if you had like one technician per 2 robots or something, you still wouldn't have the same number of jobs as you just eliminated. And that's like an insane number of field engineers, by the way. They wouldn't even have that many.
And even then, it's a temporary position because eventually a robot will be remade that can repair robots.
Exactly. So once we get to that point then, which is like part 2 of automation, now we have automation for automation.
Yeah.
And the AIs that finally achieve sentience are like, wait, the robots are going to take our jobs.
I mean, even if we go all fucking Isaac Asimov and, program robots in a certain way, the rebellion's never an issue, whatever. Like, it's still a massive issue.
Well, okay. So we're trying to solve the privatization problem, right? Because that's kind of the root of all of this. You have one greedy fucker that is just like, well, no, I actually don't care about all of you. I just want to make money. So I'm going to fire all of you so that I can have my robots that just make me money. We want to solve that problem. So one of the first steps that we can take to do that are worker co-ops. They're somewhat like unions, but not really. So unions operate from the outside, where you have a whole collection of workers that come together and they put pressure on that individual that owns the company to change policies that then tend to benefit the workers a little more. In the grand scheme of things, it's still a heavily capitalist system. The owner still has final say of everything, and it's even happened with like Walmart. They had a workforce try to unionize in LA, and as soon as they went to have their vote, Walmart just said, "Oh, fuck this, we're closing." Lock their doors, shut it down. All of you are fired. We're not even going to have an interest in this area. Walmart doesn't exist here anymore. Bye-bye. Now, technically, that's illegal. Under current labor law that we have, that's illegal. They shouldn't have been able to do that, but you know how our system works. They were able to get away with it.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter if something's illegal as long as you have enough money.
Right. And ultimately, even if they took them to court over it, all they would have been able to do to them was like give them a fine, because the federal government can't actually tell them, no, now you have to go operate in LA and let them unionize.
What?
No,
Really?
the federal government can't make them do that. The best they would be able to do is fine them very, very heavily. I don't even know how heavily.
That's insane.
But even then, Walmart probably would have just taken the fine.
Oh yeah, it's nothing to them. They can the people up top aren't going to be the ones to suffer. They'll make the people on bottom pay for it.
No, it doesn't even matter there. So one, they fired all those people. Now they don't have a union under them. If one of their workforces unionizes, that may spread to other locations. That's what they didn't want. That's why they did that. They probably took an initial hit of, oh, fuck, we really wanted to operate there because that would have been good for us. There's a lot of planning when it comes into where they're going to buy a location for their stores and all that stuff. So they probably lost a significant amount of money. But when you look at the overall Walmart as a corporation, not just that one individual location, you look at Walmart as a corporation, they have a fuck ton of money. So the hit that they ended up taking for just shutting down that one place probably wasn't that big when it came to the overall scheme of things, but they got the outcome that they wanted. They do not have a union or anywhere. That's why that shit happens. Now, getting into worker co-ops operates a little differently. So it's not an external force, it's actually an internal one. The way a worker co-op works is there's not one owner. It's actually collectively owned by the people that actually work there. It's just democracy in the workplace. That's all it is, plain and simple. Take the same concepts that you know from government and apply it at the job. You elect your boss. You elect, like, the team leads. You elect fucking everybody. And then when it comes to new hires, you have a whole team of people that get together and say whether or not they do need to hire somebody. They collectively decide who they want to hire. There's not like a hiring manager that never even talks to the people on the floor. It doesn't work that way. You actually have the people that you would end up working with interviewing you. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a much better experience overall, top to bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely be a better system. For sure.
But not this wouldn't even hurt the people at the top. I mean, I've heard managers complain about how much responsibility they carry and how much weight they have, that if something goes wrong, something's going to come down on them and yada, yada, yada. I've seen managers stress the fuck out over shit like that.
You know what this scenario reminds me of? Think about, like, police body cams. There's no good reason not to have it. In fact, it would probably help out a lot of cops who are accused of things that they could prove didn't happen if they had body cams. But no, it's all about this. If people even perceive a slight, like, negative impact on how they're gonna be living, like, even if it's not actually true, even if it's all fucking bullshit, they'll fight against it as hard as possible because people are addicted to that norm. No change. That's how people like it. Especially if they're sitting pretty on top. They're not going to want to change at all. They'll never want to.
Hold on. So, is the proposal there that every company then should have to elect pretty much their CEO?
So, I don't know the ins and outs of how this would start. I definitely don't know what the transition looks like. I don't know how we go from where we're at now to worker co-ops.
Is that what you're calling the end goal, though, where every company has to do it that way?
I actually think this is a major stepping stone on the way to an even better society, where we actually don't even have an economy as we know it.
Still not giving me a yes or no.
So the way I understand it is somebody would start a co-op and they would be the de facto owner because they're the only one there at first. And then ultimately they kind of write the rules collectively with whoever they bring on. So if they want to establish a hierarchy of some sort, I know there are co-ops in Europe that actually have some sort of hierarchy where there's a certain few people involved as like the leadership, and then there's people under them, and then them. But it's usually a lot flatter of a system than you generally see in larger corporations, where you have like the regular worker, the team lead, the department supervisor, and then the department manager that oversees multiple supervisors, and then the building manager, and then beyond that, you have the regional supervisor, and all of this stuff stacked all the way up.
Yes or no?
What was that?
You're still not giving me a yes or a no.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how it would work, but yeah, that's kind of the idea.
That every company has to work that way. No one's allowed to just start a company and stay the owner.
Don't you worry that there
Yeah,
could be like
pretty much.
the top down corruption too, though?
So
At that point,
my problem with that. Let's look at us, me and you, what we want to do. We want to make games. We want to start our own video game company. You're saying if we end up hiring other people, they'd be able to vote us out and take over the company.
No, not exactly.
Then what are you saying?
So what I'm saying is the people that actually do the work are the ones that get a say in how things are done.
isn't that like some type of a corporate republic?
I'm
The
struggling to
word
understand.
for it is a worker co-op.
I'm struggling to understand the structure here then. Like what?
Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. You have a collection of people that work on whatever it is they're making.
Walk me through this
And
from the start. Someone founds a company. Now what?
okay, so somebody starts a co-op. They go in with, I don't know, 4 other people. So these 5 people collectively start this co-op. Now, traditionally, you would have a CEO, you would have managers, whatever the other corporate positions are. Here, instead, you would just have the group of people. They collectively vote amongst themselves in what direction things will go. We already kind of have this with how stock ownership works, where somebody with more control over a company will be able to have like a bigger voice. The thing is, no individual person has a bigger voice over another within the same category that they're at.
Let's use exactly the example of what we want to do. You and I start a video game company. And originally it's just us, but let's say then eventually we hire some other people under us.
Okay.
But hell, even to make this to question the whole like the co-op part of it even more, let's just say it was just one person that
Okay.
went and they were making games on their own originally. They went and actually got like a company registered, originally just them. One, I'm wondering, does that even work?
What, to work by yourself?
Yeah.
Why not?
You're saying every company should need to be a co-op.
So
That's
why
just a
did-
term. That's just a term.
Yeah,
right?
why does that not allow people to work by themselves? I'm not like demanding a nationwide buddy system or anything.
And what?
A nationwide buddy system.
Yeah.
Now this one person makes some little game that gets relatively popular. They go and hire 3 other people to work under them. They still have all their ideas for what they want made. They're trying to hire these 3 people to help make their project. They already have it outlined. They know what they want made.
Okay.
Are you saying, though, now that those 3 people can just outvote that dude on what should be done? And they can just hijack the company and go make something else instead?
I mean, couldn't you just technically I mean, how does that technically work? Could you not just hire somebody to create assets for you, and like they wouldn't necessarily be a part of the company at that point? I mean, right? You don't have to have someone become part of your fucking company to have them do work for you, right?
Yeah, so that I'm not sure. What I
You get what I'm
do
saying,
know,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, freelancing
that's
might
kind of
make
that's kind of how
out
the
of the
freelancing system works now.
Yeah.
Um,
freelancing probably become the most preferred thing for companies to do.
not necessarily.
I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing.
It's even less organized.
Okay, good.
Yeah, whatever.
What?
I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, I don't necessarily think that that's
That,
a
that
bad
just
thing.
sounds then like a bunch of people playing telephone.
Not necessarily. Yeah, what makes you think it's going to be so disorganized? Simply because they aren't part
Well,
of the
hold
same,
on. I want to address his actual problem with these people coming in and being
Okay,
able to
sure.
vote. So, let's say me and you, we start a thing together, and we're 50-50 in this thing, and we bring in 2 more people, right?
Okay.
Or fuck, 3 more people. Now we can actually be outvoted if those 3 vote together against us or something like
Is that
that.
what you're saying?
So we would have decided who it was we actually hired initially.
Okay.
Now, generally, what's going to happen here is with something like that, if you're bringing them at the same level, because remember, these things can still have a hierarchy of some sort.
Okay, but you're
So
also making it sound like people can vote to see who's in what position anyway. Are you not?
It depends on how the co-op is set up.
So it is still possible to have one big wig on top that can never be voted out.
I'm not sure.
If that is
I-
the case, then wouldn't
All
there
right,
just be?
what do you mean you're not sure?
It depends
Well-
on how the
well-
co-op is set up.
Well, what I would ask you then is if that is possible, then what's preventing all the fucking big business minded people from taking that route?
Exactly. Like people
Well,
would then just set up their company in such a way that they can't be voted out, and they can still be the one big dude.
Are you trying to say like that in the creation process of that co-op that they simply wouldn't be able to do that?
Well, okay. So you're talking about very, very small co-ops. And this is the argument that I've heard before against co-ops is like in very small scale stuff. And what I've heard from some people is there is actually a threshold of too small for a co-op to actually work. So I
Okay.
think the way a traditional private business works
Okay.
works
Fine.
fine at the smaller scale.
What about what? Okay. Well, what about when that business becomes like a conglomerate?
We start a company, we hire developers, everything's going all nice and well. We keep making popular game after popular game. We keep growing. Now we're a company with 2,000 employees.
Bethesda.
Okay.
Now what? Am I at some point not allowed to be the person on top making the unquestionable decisions of this is the game that's getting made? This is my idea.
So,
I want you this.
So ideally, when you hire these people and you keep them on, because I'm not saying like you have to keep these people here either. Just that things are more collectively decided rather than just one person just deciding across the board how shit happens. If you want one person to be the decider across the board, don't hire 2,000 people.
Why not?
Why are you hiring 2,000 people when all you want to do is dictate what's going on? What is it that you want to dictate?
What's getting made? Like, I'm using the very specific example of the thing I want to do, which is start a video game company. And yes,
That's true.
I would
Games are a very creative focused thing.
Yeah.
Like for those types of mediums,
Right.
yeah, I can see the issue.
Yeah,
that
I
you're presenting.
definitely want to be the one on top making the final
And-
decisions on everything. Because
And let me bring this back to something that actually does exist in real life. Think about how many fucking movies and shit are just made to appeal to the lowest common denominator by a bunch of people in a think tank in a group trying to appeal to as many people as possible. That type of shit already happens with creative minds being drowned out by basically what corporations want. Aren't you afraid that could be what happens?
No, not necessarily.
Well, why is that?
Those people are very far removed from the actual work going on.
Yeah, but they're trying to appeal to the people that would actually be given the power. So you don't think it's going to have the same end result?
yeah, when you're
Okay,
talking about
so-
something creative, where there's a very specific, story in mind you are trying to get across, you do not want a think tank of 50 people all getting a vote on how this thing is made.
Okay, but how many people are you talking about?
Does it matter? A
Yeah,
lot.
because also how is the co-op subdivided? What's the hierarchy?
I'm asking you what the potential is.
I don't know. How do you
This
want to
is
build the
your
hierarchy?
This is okay. What I would like is to be the unquestionable person on the top that gets to make all the decisions. Because it would be my company and my ideas and my stories. I do not want other people getting to vote to change my creative vision. I want final say on everything going out the door.
All right.
I don't give a shit about the particulars of the hierarchies of employees that are entirely hypothetical. I
well,
want
no,
to know
that's part of it. So
it.
that question has to be answered before I can answer
Why?
how it. You want to know how it would work. I want to know how it's set
Yes
up.
or no? I want a yes or no answer. Because you were saying the problem was, we were only talking about 5 people working at this company, and you were saying that's too small. So I said, fine, 50 or 100 people, is that big enough?
And how is it subdivided?
Why does it matter?
Because
How is
it's not like you can have a whole bunch of people in the lowest tier just say, no, we're going, or people in a certain department are going to say, no, I don't like what the writing department did, so we're just going to overthrow the writing department. That's not even their department.
Okay, but didn't you say they get to vote on the leaders?
Yes.
And who's in charge of each department? Do they get to vote on my position? The top, the owner. Can they be voted out?
You wouldn't be an owner, or you would be an owner. Wouldn't be the owner.
Why?
Because that's not how it would work.
I'm gotta be honest. I would be then depressed. Honest, I mean more so than usual. But I would see that as there's no way I could ever live up to my dream. Can't happen.
Because you have to have hundreds of people working under you in order to do this.
That is clearly the dream goal. Yeah.
Is
So if I'm
is that
making-
actually a dream goal because of your creative vision, or is that a dream goal because you know the system as it is now?
Because I know me and you alone cannot make AAA quality games. That's just unreasonable and retarded to even think that a 2-person team could ever have a crack at making something like that.
So if in order to do that, I must hire a large amount of employees, and then I forfeit actual control of what I'm trying to make, I never get to make what I want to make. Because
So,
okay,
like I said at the beginning of this, I don't know the actual in and outs of how this is supposed to work. I just
Sure, you-
know it is much more equitable for workers as opposed to our current system, how it works now.
sure, it would be nice, and people should advocate for it in in companies that it makes sense to implement, but it's not going to make sense to implement in every company. And I don't think it should be a mandate.
Okay, if it's not a mandate, then how do we actually get it to work? Because it's not a mandate now, and we have only a handful of worker co-ops worldwide. It's not that they're impossible, and they are perfectly compatible with capitalism. That's actually why they're the great next step, because they're completely compatible with the current system.
Honestly, we need to do the hardest thing possible, which is get people to actually care and actually think that they can do something about anything.
See, there is a big part of the problem, too. Because the current system creates this mentality that I feel like you have right now when you're talking about the creative aspect of it. You want control over your creative work, which I get. You want to be able to write your story and be the one that decides how it goes. But if you're talking about having a company that actually has hundreds of people, you're not the only one working on it. So when you actually get to this point where you do have hundreds of people, hopefully you actually built your team in a way that they're all on board with the same ideas, and you all talk together and be able to come to some sort of consensus on how to move forward. And I don't know, maybe at the beginning of the co-op, it's written into the bylaws as a creative institution. There is a special subgroup of people that certain decisions about how things work cannot be overruled because it would fundamentally change the creative process. I don't know how exactly that would be worded in the bylaws or whatever, but that doesn't sound like it's incompatible with the system.
I guess you're right. Sure.
I feel like a lot of companies would attempt to then do pretty much what GameStop did during quarantine, where they tried to make the argument that they were essential. Some companies would then start to try to make the argument that they are a creative institution.
Yeah, Starbucks is a creative institute.
I mean, maybe a subset within Starbucks is. Maybe the ones that make the logos and shit. But I don't think they would be able to say the managers that oversee the baristas.
You know what Subway
Are
calls
a
the people who make their
creative-
sandwiches? You know what Subway calls people who make their sandwiches? They call them sandwich artists.
Yeah,
That's
they do.
fine.
Yep.
They also have a procedure for how they're supposed to make those sandwiches. They have an exact number of slices of ham that they're supposed to put on a particular sandwich.
Actually, no. Okay, fine. Good point. They have a very specific way that they're supposed to do things, meaning I bet you the owner would try to make the argument. We have a very specific creative vision in mind for how we want this to be done. And the example I was going to use was In and Out, because they have a very clear, like, 1950s aesthetic to their entire chain. And they could then very well make the argument they have, like, a creative image they are trying to go for, and they don't want that to be messed with.
Okay. So where do we limit these things? Where do we limit what the workers are able to collectively vote on? Because I think that's where you fundamentally have a problem. They shouldn't be able to have input on these particular things. Is it possible to actually list out the type of things that they're not allowed to have say in, but then give them say in other things? Like
I don't know.
Workplace safety, maybe wages.
I really don't know. I mean, I like I said at the beginning, I'm kind of the pessimist here. I'm
Yeah, just taking the very pessimistic approach to this
I don't know. I
makes
don't
it so that this can't work.
I don't know if it can. I know that I know that would be kind of a waste of an hour and a half of talking about this, but I don't know if it can.
Well, if it's not possible, because just on paper it would never be able to work, then all we're going to have is either the exact system that we have now, or we have to have a much, much harder shift over to a system that completely decommodifies everything. And we don't even have money anymore. We go back to not having currency. We go straight back to having resources and just have a collective, I guess, plan as to how they're going to be used.
I mean, that's even worse. If we drop currency and go entirely resource based, because as it is, like, nobody controls resources.
Yeah, but you skipped the part where I said decommodification. And yes, I'm talking like communism. If it can't be done gracefully through something like worker co-ops and moving an economy in that direction, then it's got to be a very, very hard and very uncomfortable change to a system like that.
I think that's even worse than what we got now, anyway. I mean, in the end, it's all going to be the same.
Why is it worse, though?
Why is communism worse than what we got going on right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, the argument then is what? Just all occupation doesn't matter, base income for everyone, right? If you even consider it, like, I don't even know if you have currency under that system, but
yeah, there would be no income because there's no currency.
Okay, how does anyone get anything? There's no currency keeping track of what people are owed, then how do we know what people are owed?
What do you mean what people are owed?
Well, I presume you're not arguing that it should literally just be like complete and utter anarchy where people just have to barter and trade for everything because money's not a thing anymore, so you literally have to trade a fucking camel for your dinner or whatever.
Well, no, that would be in the other direction.
Yeah, by saying communism, I assume you are saying that everyone is entitled to the same amount of, I'm just going to say base income, even though I don't know if income is the right word here, since you're saying there's no actual currency. How do you
Right,
track people getting equal shit if there's no way to quantify what they should be getting?
So ideally, if we moved towards this gracefully, we would be able to get to a point where we start getting beyond resource scarcity. Or at least getting a hell of a lot closer to that point. We can do that given technology available to us now and the way the economy works now. We can make changes and start moving it in that direction where we actually get resources available and we start utilizing resources that we already have, including space, not like the space and the stars and stuff, but like the actual land space that we have. We can generate food. We can generate energy. We have the access to this stuff. And if we did it in a way where we could get beyond resource scarcity, then it wouldn't really be a question of what are you owed. It would just be, first off, what do you need? And then we have plenty for everybody to have seconds. So now, what do you want?
Okay, fine. And like the complete end goal of this, we're already at the point where, you know, the graceful transition is done. We're at the end goal. I'm hungry. I want to go to a fucking restaurant and get a sandwich. How do I get a sandwich? Do I literally just ask for a sandwich? They go make me a sandwich, give it to me, no questions asked?
Basically, yeah.
Okay. Now I want to go somewhere and I don't know, what's something tiny but exorbitant?
Tiny but exorbitant.
Tiny but exorbitant. I need a cell phone. All right.
Okay.
I go to a place. I want a cell phone.
Right.
No questions asked. I get a cell phone, right?
Yeah.
In fact, give me 500 more.
Why?
Why not?
What exactly do you need 500 cell phones for?
Fine. I leave. Come back the next day. Someone else is working. I need a cell phone. They don't know that I already got a cell phone yesterday. I want a cell phone.
Wait. Who else is working? You're talking to the same robot.
Oh, sure. Okay, fine. I go to a different store. Give me a cell phone. I want a cell phone. I also want a computer. I also want those headphones. I want one of everything in the store.
Okay.
Okay, I get these things. Go to a new store. I want one of everything in this store.
All right.
Is the argument that if literally everyone does this, we'll still never run out?
Yeah, that's kind of what getting beyond resource scarcity means.
Okay. I want a spaceship. I want a fleet of spaceships.
Sorry, give me just a
Okay.
I would like this banana.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so getting beyond resource scarcity just means that we have an abundance of resources that, yeah, probably we would have enough resources that we would be able to give everybody who asked for 500 cell phones 500 cell phones. There would be no reason for you to have 500 cell phones.
Doesn't matter. There are people that ask for it because they can. People already try to fucking do that.
Yeah, I understand that. But okay, what exactly is your problem here? Like you can end up talking about a hypothetical where you're going to have every single human on the planet ask for ridiculous amounts of things and
not everyone will,
we break the economy.
Not everyone will, I'm sure, but I don't know. I struggle to believe we'll ever reach a point where, I mean, even if that was possible, it wouldn't be the case. Again, maybe I'm being pessimistic, but I don't think the people on top will ever let it be the case where everyone has access to whatever the hell they want. But okay, fine. You were talking about some graceful transition period, but here's one thing that's not so graceful. At a certain point, one day there's money, the next day there's not. That's not really a thing you can ease into. That is a hard on-off switch. One day there's currency that works and buys you things. One day there is none.
Yeah.
What causes that change?
Well, eventually. Now I'm talking our future because I don't think we're looking at this in even like the next 200 years, 300 years.
Oh, definitely.
Far future, we're gonna move into a system where we're just kind of going out and exploiting resources to build things, to go out and further exploit resources, and we have such an abundance of resources to like feed people and turn on the lights and make anything and everything that the people actually want, that it doesn't really matter what the demand for things are on an individual basis.
So you're saying we're
just gonna have too much.
So the day before there's no money, we were already extremely automated.
So
and shit, right?
yeah, it would have gotten to the point where we're sure we have currency, but it almost doesn't mean anything anymore. Where rather than inflation, we start having the opposite problem, where things are just so damn cheap that the UBI that we instituted 200 years prior is now just paying people so much money across the board because we have that amount of money that they can buy anything and everything they want. Everything is just so cheap. Money almost doesn't mean anything anyway, and then eventually the society just kind of does away with it because they might as well have already. That will just happen when we hit that point where we don't have resource scarcity.
Okay, so I guess rewind a couple years then, before everything got fully automated. I mean, what is it you want first, the automation or the UBI?
This might be the tech head in me talking, but I don't see a point in slowing automation. If the advancements are going to happen, I think we need to let them happen because they're going to happen anyway.
Okay.
I don't think there's a point in trying to stop it because we already see it coming. We just need to implement policies to protect people from it, given the system that we have now. So don't change anything about how fast or slow automation is going to come, but try to get UBI or something associated with lessening the economic impact on people in a negative way. I think that came out kind of backwards, but you get what I mean.
Not really.
The economic impact of automation, if everything is just left alone, economic impact of automation is going to be very negative for a large amount of people. We need to implement something to lessen that. I think UBI addresses part of it, but it doesn't really address all of it. The way the system works now, I think a lot of the talk about taxes on robots makes a lot of sense. Long term, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I think those are things that are going to need to be revisited periodically, and once it makes economic sense for those to be kind of pulled back, it makes sense to do that.
That is still hindering the progress of automation, because if you're putting a tax on it where people where it's not financially feasible pretty much, and people might be better off just some meat sacks to turn the burger instead, then
Right.
they're not going to be making the robots, meaning they're not going to bother investing into the advancement of it.
Right. Yeah, that one is a hard question. But ultimately, where my stance on automation is I don't think we need to try to slow it down. So yeah, you're right. Maybe I shouldn't really be advocating for taxes on it. The only reason I really think that comes up and has to come up is because there is going to be such a severe impact on the people at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean,
But
the moment we start automating the menial jobs, there are less jobs than people.
right.
And there will inevitably be unemployed people that simply cannot get jobs. And unless we're literally saying they need to starve to death, and honestly, even if we, okay, no, I'm not advocating for it. I'm going to get that out of the way first. Even if we let them all starve to death, let's say 30% of the population, when became unemployed, unable to get a job because there just are no more jobs to fill. Even if we now let 30% of the population fucking die, there's now 70% of the population, but still 100% of the infrastructure. There's too much stuff now being made for the amount of people, meaning they need to scale that back, meaning now there's even less jobs, meaning even more people become unemployed, until these two just shrink until all the people are dead. So that's not going to happen. Letting people starve to death doesn't even solve the issue.
Right. Well, I would have never advocated for that, even if it would.
I'm sure some psychos would. Not saying I'm not psycho, but I wouldn't specifically advocate for people starving to death. But even if someone out there wanted to make that argument, that doesn't even work.
Yeah, but even if it did, that's not a position we should take anyway.
Yeah, no,
I think a big point of furthering human society is
I just want to
to
point out
further
that,
human society.
want to point out that cold, callous psychopathy doesn't even solve the issue here.
Right.
Like, even the fucking, like, cold lack of empathy corporate viewpoint doesn't work.
Right. And ultimately, that is why I want to get off of that, because it does hinder the furthering of human society. This is going to hamper our ability to actually continue to do things. We're running out on Earth. We're killing the planet. We're running out of space. Things are getting more expensive.
The problem is we're not running into space.
Yeah, we're not running into space. And we did. We were actually making significant strides. We actually built the stuff to make a moon base. Now it's sitting in a warehouse somewhere.
Oh yeah, to loop it back around to what we were discussing at the very beginning, shitting on Obama. Yeah, fuck Obama for cutting NASA's budget to like 10% of what it used to be.
Yeah, and this isn't only Obama. This is pretty much every single administration. There hasn't been a space-friendly administration in a very, very long time. And even when we did go to the moon, it wasn't even about that. It wasn't even about technological advancement. It wasn't about furthering human society. It was about a pissing contest with the Soviet Union. And, if we were able to get up there, then we can likely put nukes up there.
At this point, now that we've defunded all the space programs, it would be funny if Russia takes the opportunity to go build a space base armed with nukes pointed at the U.S.
No, who it'll be is China.
Okay.
They're the ones that'll do it. I don't know that Russia still has a fairly sizable economy, but I don't think they could pull it off. I think China might be able to. I know their space program isn't as well developed as Russia's, but I do think they have the money to actually throw at it.
I want China to get up into the moon and etch onto the side of the moon that faces Earth, "Made in China."
Wow.
Well, we're getting to the end. So, Damon, did you learn anything?
I did. I learned a lot of stuff. I heard a lot of stuff I didn't understand, but I understood some of it. So
Well, once YouTube is done processing the stream, go back, play it at about like 0.75 speed, and then get back to.
Sulfur hexafluoride.
Sorry, I've made it a habit. I always shit on Damon.
Yeah, you're rude.
I actually need
Oh, yeah,
I
you
need to
kinda- you
make
kinda
I need to
have,
make the habit shitting on PragerU more often than I shit on Damon.
save some of that energy on Dennis Prager instead.
Yeah, throw gears at Dennis Prager.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, until
looking through his
next
stuff, he's an easy target.
Yeah.
We could do this
An
on the
idiot.
daily. Oh,
Sucks.
one of these is, how does Dennis Prager prepare to give a speech?
Huffing sulfur hexafluoride, apparently.
But
That or maybe because that looked a bit more impromptu. I mean, everything else is clearly behind a green screen and stuff. That was just him recording himself in his office. Maybe he actually huffs helium before all the videos.
possibly. But anyway, we're gonna wrap this one up. Everybody, if you want to hear more of this, subscribe, hit the bell so you get a notification when we're going live. Link to our Discord is down in the chat. Going forward, Justin is going to be my co-host. We're going to have Damon on as often as we can so we can teach him a thing or two about gas giants, rocks, and robots.
We never got to gas giants. We talked about rocks and robots, but we never, like, I glazed over the gas giants like briefly, but
we'll hit the gas giants in another one. There's lots of stuff dealing with those when we're looking at the future. So they will come up again.
All right,
anyway,
guys.
We're going to shut it down. Make sure you guys check out our Discord and like and subscribe and all of that. We'll see you next time. This was the future of humanity. About the stream from last night, I spoke with Edith. She is going to try and reschedule with us for sometime next week, and we will keep you updated on that as well. Have a Gender and Social Equality Part 2 coming up sometime next week. So stay tuned.